All right now. Y'all is on like the cutting edge, bro. Like
I agree.
Yeah, y'all shit is on the cutting edge. Yeah, I mean, true that.
I agree, man.
We're on the cutting edge.
Unlike anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man, like you on the couch, brother. What you saying?
We laugh on the couch.
What chord was that? When you, it was like, I want to say it was like an F. It was some kind of F.
You played one chord, I was like, oh.
It was some kind of F.
Oh,
when you were making that transition, when you were
some
going,
type of alter chord you played.
Oh, yeah. I didn't catch it. It was like,
He walked up. Yeah.
Oh, that's it right there. Yeah.
Play it again.
That's it right there.
For some reason, I kept hearing a.
Well, that, but I know.
I kept hearing an F. That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Hold on.
Yeah.
Just hit that chord again.
Yeah, that's it.
I got it.
Hey.
What is that?
It's a minor.
Oh, see if you try it.
But it's like this skeleton chords, so they're a little like.
I got it.
Yeah. Huh? This is actually a little out of tune too.
Come on, brother. I'm around the corner. I gotta set up. I'm on Ralph Ave.
Yeah,
I gotta set up to record live. Man, we need to just
Come on, Ralph, for it. I'm
right above the chicken spot.
Okay.
Favorite in Chauncey.
Right on.
Yo, I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm on
Yeah, we need to do something, bro.
Yeah.
Because it's easy.
Got it. I'm sitting there. I'll bring a small drum.
Actually, the drum, I meant to buy a drum. That's the one thing I don't have permanently, but I have a set. Yeah, right. I need a drum. But I can mic it.
Yeah, I got a small kit that I bring on the train and like
What?
hold it out.
For the gig. Now
Gotta be
it's
able to,
perfect.
yeah. I mean, you know.
Word.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to do a liberator recording. You know what I'm saying?
Man, glad I got somebody who.
I like your earring. Thank you. I love your. I love the yin out of blue. It's tranquil. It's tranquility.
Thank you.
Yeah.
She's right there.
That's a cute ballad. Yes.
You gotta focus on everything. Sometimes what I generally do is I'll keep a hold like this, just so that way when the camera moves, I can.
So we got the bug now. We're not gonna stop.
I'm telling you, one of us gonna do it. You're gonna ask a question and somebody's gonna hum something before they answer.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna sing a melody before they answer. Yeah. Because only musicians understand that.
Yeah.
Somebody asks you a question, you like, man, let me sing something right quick to remember this shit. Let me jog my memory with a melody.
Yeah, that's real.
Alright, bro. Y'all straight, about to start. Good.
Alrighty, well, welcome to Live from Planet Earth. We are here with James Tillman. We have Kala. We have Russell Carter. We have Asante Amin. I'm your host, Stephanie Tisdale. We also have Maya James in the building from Liberator Magazine, and we are here to talk about music, to commune, and just build. We had a chance to sing a little bit, play a little bit, so we're just going to discuss, everyone's journey. So even like you harmonizing with yourself, what does that feel like?
I don't know. I already know when I harmonize, it makes me realize like just how subtle like a voice is, you know? And it's kind of cool. Like I like singing my own harmonies, but I think now I'm actually more interested in bringing other singers in because you created like what I'm realizing, like if you're gonna have this situation where you create a track and you want to layer things and overdub and harmonize, you could technically do everything yourself, but there's a certain, I don't know what you call it, that's there when you invite other people and like, because even if I sing the same line as someone else or like a line higher, it's still different, you know? And I think that's important. So like I love singing harmonies and like it's cool, but like I don't think I'll ever get to the point where I'm like looping and harmonizing with myself on stage or anything like that. But I really, because it's like there's something so beautiful about like, again, it's like collaboration and like voices and just everyone has a different timbre or like a different thing to bring, you know? It's not, it's like, it's amazing. So I really want to have some of those elements moving forward.
I feel like my greatest work comes through me, not from me. It really also stems back to a love I have for Coltrane and the Love Supreme. And one of his, the liner notes that he wrote, all paths always lead back to God. It doesn't matter what God you pray, but pray every day. And it's about just acknowledging and exalting the all, the creator, which is us, as well. We are, especially all of us in this room, we're creators.
I think a lot of people don't like look back to the elders to to get that kind of. There's almost like a missing link between generations. I guess kind of our generation and the generation that came before us. But just a lot about music. They've lived a long time and have done it a long time. And then just a lot about spirituality in music and, just how to feel music, because it's, it's not all about, It's not all technical, you know. A lot of times, you know, it's a feeling, and you know, they've just taught me a lot about that, particularly Doug Karn and Gene Karn, you know. Just there was a consciousness also, like, you know, lyrically and what they did. So, you know, that was just a big impact on me, and you know, just really inspires me, like what they did, what they were able to do. And then just, you know, for all these years, being able to, you know, they wrote those, a lot of the stuff when I, you know, toured with them. We went to London like 2 years ago, and we did all songs that they, you know, wrote in the 70s. And I mean, people, it was like they wrote it yesterday, you know, people knew the lyrics, you know, people loved it. I think that's just incredible to write, you know, things such a long time ago, and really, you know, and people still have that type of enthusiasm.
Being from New Orleans, the second line is something we grow up with to the extent where we take it for granted, because it's everywhere you go from the time you come out of the womb, and it's so interwoven into daily life that you come to just look at it as normal to such an extent. When I got here, I remember not seeing second lines on a daily and going through culture shock, not seeing people walking around with big brass tubas and, you know, finding that odd, you know. So I'll just say, like, the second line, I'm always researching it outside of just attending it. I played in a number of second line bands growing up, because if you're a musician, you play in second line bands. That's how you cut your teeth down there. But I'll just say, in terms of the foundation of the second line, it's based upon something called a bambula rhythm, right? And it's like right? And so you hear people saying, like, let's go get them, let's go get them, right? And so even listening to that becomes the basis for, like, the local hip hop scene in New Orleans. So it's interwoven into everything. And then, of course, the bambula rhythm is African. That comes from Africa. So, you know, you do the science on that. That comes from my ancestors when they embarked upon that long journey across the Atlantic and were deposited at different places in the Caribbean islands and in the Americas, et cetera, et cetera. So I would just say the second line is it's a very tangible link to our motherland that has been maintained in its essence, kind of from beginning to end. So it's very important, whether you listen in the second line or whether you're listening to trap beats, to deal with the spiritual and the ancestral connotation of the rhythms. Because when you play certain rhythms, you're calling certain energies down. And you have to be aware, especially in America right now, when some would say we're at a disadvantage in terms of sometimes protecting ourselves or just dealing with adverse situations. We have a lot of power, and our ancestors encoded it in the legacies they left, and they went through a lot of pains and made a lot of sacrifices, sometimes over currency, sometimes over their life, to make sure the legacies and the rhythms were preserved. And as Amiri Baraka said, he said we couldn't always write books, but we left the history in the rhythms, in the music. So second line is one of them things. I love it. I love to do it. I love to play it, dig, but I'm learning every day even much more about it. Dealing with the notion that we're all visitors. We all come to this planet. We all manifest. You know, much like Sun Ra. And it came out of looking at Space as the Place, first of all, because I can't talk about the visit without talking about Sun Ra, because I was up late, 3 a.m, you know what I'm saying, getting nice. And I was looking at Space as the Place, and I just thought it was so profound, because his whole conversation was about saving his people through our cultural technologies. And what's so amazing about that is when you start dealing with funk music and you start dealing with George Clinton and Funkadelic, it's a space age, intergalactic, interstellar type of conversation that's being had, but it's still rooted in scripture. Because he's saying things like, swing down, sweet chariot, please let me ride, which is a Negro spiritual, but he's coming more from the, like, nah, it's going to be a spacecraft. It's going to be a mothership.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
Church in the Wild.
You recorded that with random musicians. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm blown away.
You know what else was big though? How you said
nuts.
they were just they were working more in service.
Yeah,
Like, it's not a gig. It's not.
the way that they look at it is so different. It's like here, like coming from New York, like you guys said, where everyone's just like, yo, I'm trying to get gig to this gig to that gig, playing everybody's music, doing whatever. And then to get down there where like they could be doing that, but they're choosing to be like, all right, they have. It's like it's just an interesting concept of like being present that they have in whatever it is. It's like we went out to a samba house and it was like crazy. It was like everyone's in it and they're not anywhere else.
In Sao Paulo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I went to Sao Paulo in I think 2011.
Word.
Yeah, so I feel you. It was very
My
amazing.
baby's mom is from Sao Paulo.
Boom! Wow.
Going this summer. Yeah.
What?
I can't wait.
When?
Yeah.
That's gonna be
Can't
popping.
Yeah.
You're going. Wait, are you going now? Like their summer or our summer coming out?
Our summer, yeah.
Okay,
Our
word.
summer, yeah.
Word. That's still gonna be popping. It's gonna
Definitely, and she, she's like, I'm gonna take you to all the clubs.
Oh, man.
Yo,
We're
the
gonna,
food,
know.
the food was so clean. Cause I'm a vegetarian. But when I
Okay.
was over there, I was just eating
that's
chicken.
feijoada.
That's what she was telling me. Yeah.
Feijoada.
Oh, oh man, feijoada.
It's like
I mean, it's not for vegetarians.
it definitely.
You know.
They take basically a pig and they're gonna put every part of a pig in the.
But they
stew.
won't tell you what's in it. Like it kind of looks like it's just beans if you don't really
Yeah,
stare at it. But I mean,
You're like, "This is so
they got
good."
all types of sausage and like I don't know exactly what's in it, but it's
See, I'm happy I get caught out there. 'Cause
I
I've
just-
been eating it like this is
It
banging.
was so good. That would be the best rice and beans you ever had.
Right.
I tell my girls, don't tell me what's in it.
Well, during the break, we were talking about just different. I think people started going in about Brazil and the food there and different influences, and I guess that means everybody has to get a ticket and go to Brazil. Basically. That was my takeaway from that teachable moment, is that I need to go to Brazil.
True indeed.
I love it. So speaking of food and all that good stuff, and this is just open, to whoever wants to respond. Describe the flavor of your music. So if you could identify, ingredients, what does it taste like? What's the feel? What's happening?
Damn, son.
The flavor.
Trying to really
It's
summon
weird.
it to my palate.
Right? No.
I mean, I could shit. I could definitely taste some just teriyaki. Some teriyaki, ginger, garlic, salmon. Always try to bring that. I don't know.
Music.
Or any flavors that inspire you. So like again, we talked about the whole Brazilian thing, but just things that what are you cooking when you're creating, or what are you not cooking? Are you fasting? Are you drinking tea? I know James, you came in with like a spread of incense, so and you said you carry it with you, and we saw you perform. You pulled it, you got it lit and stuff, so that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess in terms of flavor, I don't know. When I recorded at Shangri-La, I was writing those things. It was like, I don't know, like eggs, spinach. It was real. It wasn't anything. I mean, I didn't have no money, so it was like, what can I?
To literal flavors.
That's the literal.
That too.
That's the literal recipe of like Shangri-La. And then I don't know. I think it comes across as like I've heard. Well, from other people, I've heard it's like creamy. I would never call my music creamy, but like multiple people have been like, yeah, it's like it has this like smooth, like creamy vibe, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
It does. It got the Nutella vibe.
It's rich,
but warm.
It's like Nutella on a crepe.
Ooh,
No, y'all like that?
that's all right.
I love it.
That's how I'm responding from now on. Like, how's your? It's Nutella on the cream.
Warm. And are there other like creative rituals that you have? Again, outside of even food, but just things that you need, to happen to sort of create.
I think I would say like just kind of a meditative type of vibe before I perform or before I record. I feel like when I really can get into that zone, that's when I'm at my peak. And sometimes, sometimes I feel like it doesn't happen for whatever reason, but when I can get into that like meditative state before I perform, I feel like that's when I'm at my peak and things just come and flow easily.
And so how do you choose? I mean, everyone here, creates in a variety of ways. So how do you choose and order your mediums? For example, if you're going to use instruments or produce electronically or sing or rhyme or say the words, spoken word versus the rhyming or the singing. How do you decide, what you're going to do, and express yourself or to say what it is that you're feeling?
Wow, that's a deep question. I don't know. I know, like, the thing that helps me a lot is I write a lot of just like free verse. I journal a lot. So there'll be certain times where I feel like I need to sometimes just sit down and like write whatever comes to mind. So I do that a lot. And then I find that not only do I kind of get a vibe of where I'm at in whatever moment, but also it's inspiring because then it makes me feel as though anything can become a song in a way. Like I've had moments where I would look back at like what I considered to be like just random writings and was like, oh, this is like that line right there. Like, why did I write that? And then that'll inspire like, me to just, see where that goes. Right. And it doesn't necessarily mean that like it's going to be a song or whatever, but it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like I don't know. I feel like it's very playful to me. Like I like just having that where it's like, oh, well, this could be a song, or it could just be me. I don't know, flexing a creative muscle, if that makes sense. Yeah.
For me, it's about the balance of things. In terms of even there shouldn't be a push. It shouldn't be a forceful thing. That I meet with resistance. It should just be there should be ease. There should be flow to it. And so for me, it's about being able to start, and then if I feel like stopping, in a day that I'm producing a track, I'll stop. If it's about writing a lot and not writing, it's about listening a lot, and almost in a way of doing research and getting inspiration from people around me, and even music that's been around for a long time, centuries even. Right. But like having to listen and not listen, because I love jazz. I'm a jazz head. I found myself years ago like inverting melodies, like, and Coltrane's one of my favorites. I was like, oh, I just flipped the melody to Equinox. Like I just inverted it. Like I just was like, I gotta stop listening so much, because as much as it was there. Obviously I had received the inspiration. Right. Like, it was there. Like, okay, right. Just chill for a minute. So it's about that. It's about that balance, but between the ebb and flow.
I think that's a great point. Like definitely knowing when like, it's that moment where you're like, you don't have to force it, or you just know when you've been inspired. You don't need to like beat it over the head. You don't need to like, I feel like I do that too a lot. Like where it's like, okay, you can stop now. You can chill. It's there.
Cause I done beat stuff over the head and come back to it the next day and just been like, what was I thinking? Where was I yesterday? Maybe I was just running off fumes, as they say, tired or in the same whatever for a little bit. And I've, so it's definitely about that. Just being easy with yourself, cause it comes. It definitely comes.
And then just to revisit something you said earlier in terms of your greatest work coming through you. Not necessarily from you, and I bear witness that's real. And I think when you're a multifaceted creative, as we all are, you begin to see your creativity as a way of life. It's not confined to music. It's expressive in the way you talk, your clothes, the food you cook, and I'm finding it's really important to just be sensitive to the entity using me. Because that entity will dictate how it wants to. You may be dealing with a horn player that wants to take it there, or a poet or a rapper or whatever, and just being sensitive, like both of y'all just said, to like the feeling, learning to feel and not forcing it, because there's no forcefulness in this process, because we just midwives.
There's a lot of things that people think there's some type of exact science to it, like swing, like swinging. It's like it's a feeling, and you can't really explain
Yeah.
to somebody.
You can't.
Like, how do you swing? Or
Yeah,
how do you,
it's like,
you
what's
know,
funk?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
What are the-
How do
first
you
of
get
all,
that? It's a feel. You can show somebody. Okay, you can show somebody, but it's really hard to explain. Like, how do it's a feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this idea of, you mentioned the idea of the midwives, and you're talking about, this sort of internal feeling. So who did you all apprentice under, and who, mentors you now? So who are the people that helped birth your ability to connect, whether it's your parents or, musical, inspiration, but where's some of that coming from?
I think of several mentors, from like literally musically, from every piano teacher I've had, through the musical directors that I've dealt with through high school and college, to my big brothers, the music around me. My father played jazz piano, and hip hop. Really, I was a jazz head really, but hip hop, my big brothers really put me on. They passed a lot of that my way, and so that was a big inspiration, and felt like that was leading me to a platform I liked. Definitely. I mean, just to keep it in terms of people that I dealt with, because in terms of who's inspired us, it's like everyone in this room's inspired me. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna keep being inspired. But as far as that, every person that has touched my life musically and showed me a chord, put me onto a new voicing, or took me out to a show, or even if the show made me feel like I wanted to quit, because what I saw was so over my head. But obviously I didn't. So
Right. True indeed.
Yeah.
I guess that's the same. Like, I guess the biggest mentor influence I had was my vocal teacher at the new school. This guy named Kamal Scott, but he used to sing. He sings opera. He actually was. What did he do? I think he was the Wizard. Well, he was something in the Wiz, like when it was on Broadway. He's a Broadway guy, but like. And it's not even, it was amazing because he had done all those things, but I think the most important thing that he helped me understand is that, like, you have a voice, and that, like, these institutions, for instance, at the school, at the jazz school, it was just like this institution didn't give you anything that you didn't have. And it can't take anything away unless you go in a different route or give it away. And that was really important at the time that it happened because I used to go to school in Virginia, and I transferred up to the new school for the jazz program, expecting something completely different than what I actually got when I went there. And I kept finding that the teachers, especially in the vocal department, would try to stylize you. So, basically mold you into this jazz voice. And it's like, what is that? Like, it's like, and then I was to the point where it's like, I don't want to, I was like fearful that I was just going to start sounding like something else or someone else's idea of a jazz voice. And then, like, right on time, I got him as my teacher, and he was just like, no, like, no, this is wrong. Like, that's not music. That's also not you. Do what you do. And, like, it was kind of one of those things where even at first when he said that, I was like, he's just really coming out of nowhere with it. But, then I realized, like, that is the key. And I feel like before that, I was a lot less confident in singing, just over time, because I don't know. I feel like it's been crazy. Because when I was at Virginia, I had a voice teacher there for a semester, and they like misclassified my voice, so I was basically classified as a baritone. And they're like, okay, so you need to sing low. Like, this is what you're gonna do. Bow. And I was like, this sounds terrible. I don't know what's going on. I've never sang this way in my life.
Don't worry.
What the heck?
Keep doing it.
Yeah. And then I get to him, and he's like, you're a tenor. And you've always been a tenor.
Right.
And even so, like, that shouldn't even be what our lessons are based around. It's like,
right.
What it's like, you have a voice, and we're just gonna bring that out of you. And I think that was like the biggest like mentoring experience that I've had to date so far. And just in terms of like helping me to understand or see things in a different way. Yeah.
And so, where are all of your people from? We talked about, location, where you're born, or, some of those things. But do you have any other ancestral or genealogical kind of connections that speak to what you're creating now?
Well, I think for me, like, I mean, I named my guitar after my grandmother. She passed away. But, and it's I don't know, that was kind of sad because, like, I knew her, but I didn't know her as well as I realized that I wanted to. So it was only after she passed away that I was able to, like, you know, me and my mom even, because it was her mom, you know, and she was just like, there's so much history here that we haven't really looked into, you know.
What was she from?
That's the thing. My grandmother, her family is from right outside of Chicago, but then my mom's dad, so my grandfather, his family's from Tennessee.
Okay.
But it's just in terms of her, like, I come to find out that her grandfather, so my grandmother's grandfather was Irish, and then her great grandmother was Cherokee, and it's just like all of these mixing things, because, you know, like, I don't know, if you just see people in my family, like, some of them have, like, slightly, like, reddish hair, little, you know, just little things that you never really thought about until after the fact. And it's still something I'm really looking into now, but I just realized there's such a rich history there, you know?
It's ill.
Yeah, but, yeah, I don't know. I mean, but other than that, like, my dad's side is, like, straight up Georgia. Like, forever. They're the only part of the family that moved up north, actually. So, like, I have a lot of family, Roberta, Deep South, and then, like, we've actually done some, like, lineage history on that, and it goes back to, like, a plantation in Virginia where the first recorded, like, ancestor's name is, like, written there. Yeah.
Neat, bro.
But but even that, it's like, I feel like there's just so much more.
Yeah.
There is.
You know?
Yeah.
There's actually a plantation in Virginia that I found out, like, you know, most of my father's side of the family originates from. You know, the Carter Plantation, they still have it standing.
Yeah.
People go and visit there, you know.
That's how does my family in Tennessee. On the Tennessee side, there's the Washington Plantation around Nashville. And, like, apparently, my family directly comes from that plantation. You can still go to it. There's a book written, and, like, family members are actually mentioned. So it was kind of that's why, you know, I realized, like, there's so much history that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's
like
amazing, man. I'm just soaking it up. I know, you know, may peace be on my father's spirit, but in 2010, he actually transitioned back to the ancestors, like 5 days after Michael Jackson, and that was just a really interesting time. But it, of course, in his absence, I realized there was a lot of questions I didn't ask him. There were a lot of things about manhood, lifehood, humanhood that I never got to directly interface with him. And, you know, even when I'm doing my prayers, I gotta remind myself, like, he's not gone. Like, I can still deal with him. But I know even musically, there's a sense of urgency in learning about this music, because that's how I can learn the history. That's how I can learn about who I am and and the stories I should tell. And actually, the Liberator magazine, it was you or Brian or whoever be running the account on Twitter. You dig?
that account is popping.
Yeah, I don't know who it be. It's always ill though.
It's on point though.
It's always ill. But anyway, one of y'all tweeted something, and it had something to do with, like, attempting to be so authentic all the time is not a necessity. Be rooted in tradition. Tell the stories of your ancestors. Learn the stories of your forefathers and tell those stories. And when you go back and listen to Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, when you go back and listen to the people we identify as legendary, they were rooted in the history. They were griots, right? Dealing with our divine speech and passing it down, and that's why they were so profound. So it's immature to say, forget that. I'm gonna just create something new. What do I have to say? You can't.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's also a message.
I was like,
But
oh, that's real though. I mean,
Can someone go open
Right.
Lord.
Excellent.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I can
Keep
keep
on.
going on that point,
Yeah.
but I'm from New Orleans,
Mhm.
and my people
Everybody's gonna
are.
be shook when nobody's there.
You know what I'm saying? You called us.
Okay.
We
That
can.
was like right on time.
Yeah.
But no.
Nah. So I mean, my people are from New Orleans, and my daddy is actually from Buffalo, New York. But his mother, his parents met in Chi-Town, but they're both from Mississippi.
Great migration.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So my mom is from Grenada, Mississippi. So all of my people, like, come from the South. My great, you know, I every time I get a chance to talk to my grandma, I really try to pick her brains. I used to be like, Grandma, please, because you know the old folks, they're wired to just run stories to you, the same story over. And I used to couldn't stand it, but now I'm like, yo, that's divine. Like, they're hardwired to give you the history, and they tell you it so many times. Like, that's how it sticks to your brain. But my grandmama, she told me about her great grandfather who was a native of America, a chocolate skinned man with long straight hair.
Thank
you know what I'm
you.
saying? Exactly. And you know, just even talking to her, she was telling me about other relatives, North Carolina, when you know, 1865, 1866, when the Emancipation Proclamation was coming down. It wasn't no Twitter, it wasn't no Instagram. So, you know, you had to wait on somebody to ride through with a horse to tell you what time it was. And her telling me how when she got the word, she started hiding because she thought it was a ploy by white people for them to come and just massacre people. They didn't believe that it was a rap. You know, so
Word.
it's amazing hearing your stories about even your relatives, and I'm just inspired and motivated to use, you know, the life I have left to learn as much as I can and try to tell these stories. Because to me, that's the real shit. Like that's whatever hopes I have to be or we have to be profound or prolific. It lies in telling those stories.
I love my children that aren't even here yet. I love my nieces and nephew, and I think of them constantly when I create. You
Right,
know, it's
yeah.
something that they hold me accountable. I think they hold us all accountable.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Just on that note, I just want to add the Black Messiah. Right? Wow. Come on, y'all thought he wasn't gonna come in the conversation. Y'all know better. But anyway, I was working with my kids yesterday, you dig, and we were doing our creative assignments. I teach music and music production, and they're working and trying to keep them focused, and they're all right. And I said, let me try something. So I just dropped Sugar Daddy, like right in the middle of the class on a small board, loud as hell. And they, like, without even thinking about it, without even asking what's going on, they just responded to it, and they started moving to it. You know what I'm saying? And it was really interesting and inspirational for me, because it was like you're saying, it was one of those moments like, they deserve this. We have to give them this. And it was motivation for me to be able to give them more moments like that, where they can be in a room with elders and babies and still enjoy themselves all the same.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, but I definitely say my son inspires me, but it's like you kind of realize when, you know, children are really young. My son's 1, and I could put on anything and he'll dance to it. I put on Coltrane sometimes. You know, I put on Ornette Coleman and he'll dance to that. You know, so you kind of realize, I don't know, sometimes it's what people are programmed to do that makes them, you know, act a certain way, because when the slate is clean, you know, it's like, you know, you kind of open, you know, really
right.
young kids are open to anything,
Right.
you know,
Right, true.
and I teach also, and I try to, you know, when I teach, I try to play anything, you know, for them, and it's sometimes, you know, certain things it's hard for them to really get into, right? It's almost like a shock to their system. You know?
It is.
You know,
Yeah.
one student, I think, you know, I was playing Miles or something. They were saying, "Oh, this is giving me a headache." You know, it's
wow.
too much to think about at once.
And Miles is so minimal though. That's what's crazy.
Well, you know, but I think, you know, from what they're used to listening
Right.
and listening to loops, you know, maybe some loop drums and maybe
It's
one
like eating
synth
salad or something.
and
You've been
you know, and a rapper, and you know, compared to listening to a whole band, and then everybody's playing something different. You have chords, and then you have melodies and solos over that, and then you have polyrhythms playing over that. I guess there's a lot for them to take in at
Right.
once.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, but still, like, you know, what they listen to now is linked to that. There would be no hip hop
Right.
if there wasn't, but they don't realize.
And that's an excellent point. I like, you know, it's always dope to bring in samples form of just you know, like a hip hop beat, but then like where the original sample comes from, and it's like that's undeniable. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, like you was just telling me you ain't like that, but you've been jamming to it. You jamming.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like things have become a lot more complex in a way where you are having these very empty repetitions. Like I feel like repetition is very powerful in that depending on what you fix a cycle on and focus on, you can shed a different light on it. But I don't know. I don't know if that really ties it around. But I feel like there's a lot of like empty repetition where it's like there is no. You know, I mean, and that's one of the reasons why I feel like Jay Dilla's music is so indelible is that he is like creating a story based on his samples. Like if you listen to Donuts, it's a story about like mortality and like him moving toward that, and it's through the samples and his cutting of them and how he uses the voice that gives it that other. It's something else. Like it samples from things already done, but it creates a new story.
Right.
It's something new still, but
Right.
But I don't know. Things have become very convoluted now, and I don't feel like everyone understands that or uses repetition for that meaning. But
Yeah, repetition is very powerful. It's a cycle. It's a season.
Exactly.
And I guess it's just in terms of a much more superficial loop cycle of repetition, meaning like literally being surface level, and one that goes a lot deeper. I mean, Miles definitely goes off of repetition. The thing is that it's a longer cycle. You know what I mean? It may not be a 4-bar phrase as opposed to a 16-bar phrase. You know, and even if you throw in a B section and a solo section, it's still something that can be, the whole cycle can be repeated. You know what I mean? So it's just about going past a boom clack, you know, a couple times in a row, even a 1-bar phrase that repeats into just a, in my opinion, a broader perspective. It's a wider berth that it encompasses. Because repetition, I mean, and to play my own devil's advocate, why that's even so powerful is because, I mean, West African drumming, most of it comes down to 2 and 4-bar phrases. That's repeated. Even in all the polyrhythms layered on top, if not sometimes 1-bar phrases that are repeated. And so it is just something that is
That's an excellent point. You know what it reminds me of, though? First, all music is based on loop. All life is based on loop. But it reminded me of Miles Davis again. It reminded me of Nefertiti. And then that got me thinking about the universe. Right? And when you listen to Nefertiti, written by Wayne Shorter, for the most part, they're repeating, the form is just on loop and they're playing the melody over and over again. But with every cycle, the energy rises. It's elevating. So like you said, even with playing the same melody, there's a new intention and fervor breathed into every chorus. And you know, it's like the universe. The universe is like the earth is on loop around the sun. You know what I'm saying? But as it loops, it's elevating. Right? It's not just a it's not it's looping, but it's actually it's a spiral. So you know, when a loop is used properly, it's actually a spiral. And the mantra, like that's how you program the spirit. That's ancient African science. You know.
Yeah, a loop shouldn't make you feel like you keep coming back to the same spot. It should make you feel like it's something that gives you momentum.
Invigorated.
It should be something that swells. It should be a crescendo, not a plateau.
And I think it has to do with like the layers you have, the amount of layers you have to a loop. And then, you know, you can have a loop that has a lot of polyrhythms. Or you can, but, you know, I think a lot of the popular hip hop now is just very, you know, kind of at a base level. I mean, I will say, like, I think rhythm is starting to evolve. Like, some of the things, as a drummer, some of the things I hear producers do, I'm like, man, I wouldn't even, you know, they can do things with a computer that I can't do with hands. And even when sometimes I program, you know, tracks, even when I am programming, I still kind of tend to think like a drummer.
Like a drummer, right?
But then, they're doing things where they have these, in trap music, they have these really fast hi-hats going down and stuff. And I'm like, man,
But
I
see,
wouldn't even think to do anything
yeah.
like that,
But that's an interesting point because, like, while I was gathering research for that thesis,
Yeah.
I forgot the guy's Jens. It's this German theorist, though, but he was theorizing on repetition and how, basically this idea of, yes, you're repeating something or it's cyclical, but he also, like, was really big on, like, ephemerality, just in terms of, like, being human and how, like, everything is fleeting, essentially. So you can repeat basically what you use repetition for. He was saying is to, like, have a basically like a continuum of thought, but in a way that's familiar that people can that resonates with people. And that just struck me because of the point where you said, there are things that computers can do now that humans can't do, but like I don't think there's gonna ever be a time when like the computer or whatever is more powerful than like the human making the sound.
Or it's like not to cut you off, but I was gonna say, Dilla programs on a NPC, but like his stuff sounds human.
Yeah,
Even influenced me as a drummer. I'm like, man, that like that type of swing that he gets
pocket
out of
his
like,
pocket is
man,
sick.
That's nobody that's so inventive in hip hop, like the type of swing he gets, but he's using an NPC usually.
That's ill.
So I mean, but I wouldn't say that's computer. That's him. That's human. He's not. That's not the computer doing the work for him, but he's using technology.
Yeah.
To do this type of thing.
But I feel like that's what, like when you said, like when we were talking about how the loop will repeat, but the energy is rising. It's like there's an intent and a thought in it that's you're honing in on.
Yeah,
it's like a human. It's like it's a human element that resonates with other humans on some level. On a certain level, it's like. It's the same thing, that, but you also feel something else there. And I think that's what he was, like the theorist was kind of like trying to reach for, I guess. Right. Or I felt it's just like this human trace in everything.
Well, it's kind of, getting scary to me with music. The fact that some people, can program, stuff without ever having to touch. Like an instrument, they just click a mouse the whole time. They have the piano roll editor now.
Yeah, that's
and
crazy,
you can,
right?
Click and paste all these drums, and it's like, man, they're not, touching anything, or they're not, It's kind of scary to me, where it's going.
It's crazy times.
But
it is deep, you know what I'm saying. But eventually, the electricity will go out.
And the drum is
it'll be back on us. You know what I'm saying? So it's nice. That's a good point, though.
And so speaking of that, like that time, like you're talking about when the electricity goes out, so to speak, when, let's say 100 years, from now, there's a mystical blackout. No. But let's say one of your descendants does find, one of your songs, right, online, and they're like, oh, this ancient MP3 or whatever, I don't know, and discovers your music. This arcade.
Right.
Music here. What song or what, aspect of you do you hope that they find? So if you could pick a song or a project or something that you hope that they find, and it may not be something recorded. Okay.
I mean, just kind of going on with what we were just speaking about, just like the humanness and whatever. It's just like if they can pick up that, like, maybe something resonated with something they currently are going through at that time. You just realize that like it's like a human trace. Like that someone else dealt with something that you could have dealt with, or I think that's it. And I don't know what song or whatever, but that's just the vibe. I hope that because that's what music like does for me a lot. Or when I realized how important music was to me, it was that like there's this like element of like someone has lived something, or like someone's been here before, just in terms of living and like giving back. And that was like a big thing, especially because like I with like Nat King Cole, for instance, one of my favorite singers, and just to hear like the emotional depth or whatever in his voice, it just feels like that was the first time I've listened to a vocalist where I felt like, oh, like this, I feel this person's life, like something, like the grain in his voice or the whatever. But that's what I would want to translate in my music. That feeling of like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people in the future, maybe maybe other musicians, maybe playing something from the foundation you laid down without even knowing it. Because I think music is just a continuous thing. I think I probably am playing things people played thousands of years ago in Africa,
Indeed.
like without really knowing it. Because it's just a continuous, continuous cycle.
True indeed.
So I just hope that I can leave something that even if people don't know it, that they're still able to use to communicate.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Word.
It's a great question because I've actually been spending a lot of time over the past months and this year really refining. I'm even so hesitant to use the word a brand because I always think of like,
Right.
That's what I always feel that like, and then it feels limiting, and it also feels a lot of things. But like that perfect question: if in 100 years, what would people take from who or what Kala and the Lost Tribe was? And it is this: remember your oneness, and that's my whole idea of the Lost Tribe, our connectivity. But oneness is such a cool word. Like when I just was doing all this research and then looking it up, because it has like a trifold meaning. One, our oneness, our individuality. Our oneness as in our connection with the divine. And then our oneness as in our oneness as a collective. And so that's what I hope people would take from me. Remember our oneness, that we are all here connected. We are powerful as individuals, but pertinent and detrimental to the well-being of a tribe. And we're divine. Yeah.
Boom. There it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
She said it. I'm telling you. She said it, so I didn't have to say it.
That's good.
That is
That's
it.
it.
That's ill. But I think your question is even connected to this whole notion of a loop. Like, where will we be in 100 measures? Like, where will we be in 4 minutes? 400 years. And everybody had kind of hit that point. I know that the range of human emotions, the whole spectrum, that's not going to change. Like whether you use, whether it's trap, and that's why it's like, I can find myself in anything I do, in anything I hear. Because even when I listen to trap music, I hear the blues. I hear Muddy Waters. Because even in that time, they was calling, we call it ratchet, but they was calling it gut bucket. Right?
Yeah.
So ain't nothing under the sun. We on loop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's always important to even realize that when we're looking at the youth and, oh man, they messing up. It's like, nah, well really, it ain't new. We just have to do our jobs to infuse intentionality into what they're doing. And I think in 100 years, I just want people to say what I did was a part of the continuum. So that's why I want to learn more to make sure what I'm saying is in line with what my daddy said and his daddy said and my mom and them. You dig? So that when my son and them on the scene, we just gonna push what Baba was talking about. Whether it's talk box or whether it's auto tune or whether it's just raw voice, the blues is gonna be the blues. But we living in the future. So the future, the future is just using futuristic tools to sing the blues.
And so Maya, I know you talked about, you played James's album for your students when they were writing. Could you describe a little bit about that? Because we talked a lot about, young people and their influence, but just, what was that like being a facilitator and providing them with this music and then their experience?
Well, it was kind of random. They came in and they were like on 10. And
of course.
I was like, I'm not ready for y'all to be on 10. I'm always on 7, no higher. So I need y'all to come down a little bit. And so I was repeatedly playing the EP. I was playing it for my coworkers. So I can't believe you sitting in my house right now. Like that's crazy. But I was listening to it and I think about the question that you asked earlier, like what do you love? What makes you feel free? And for me, it's like water, and not even just because Maya is sitting right behind me, but because just naturally, that's just what it is. Like I can't start my day without like taking a 30-minute shower. When I'm in there, like I'm thinking of things. When I'm feeling out of sorts, like I just put some water on my neck. I carry water with me. So like your EP is water for me. And so like y'all on 10, let's have some water. And so I played the EP and they just naturally, they just came in and they're like, oh, what's that? What you listening to? I'm like, shh. And so, you know, like they just came in and, you know, they just kind of sat down and they like put their heads down and I didn't even guide them through it. It was just naturally what they did. And we just listened to it. And once it was over, and you know, some of them were doing their homework, but a lot of them were just relaxed, and then some of them were saying that, you know, this is very different from what I normally listen to, and it was really, really good. It was like I could actually think, like my thoughts slowed down. One girl said, and so it was just like a beautiful experience for them to just kind of tap into all of the intention that all of you put into your artistry. So.
That is amazing.
That's crazy.
And it's funny because I was playing Black Messiah earlier today too, and so like I'm in the basement of County Cullen, which is a library in Harlem, and so like I'm always blasting my music, singing real loud, like I'm in my house, and they'll come in and they'll catch me in a moment. And so like it was as that was fading off, Voodoo came up because I was on Spotify, and so Chicken Grease came in, and like 2 of my kids came in, they're like, oh, I like this. And they just started bouncing. We just all started bouncing around the room. So I mean, teaching them like how powerful music is and how it can definitely be a tool, just not to get turned up or be ratchet, but like how it can be a prayer, how it can be a meditation, especially if they don't already know how to do that. That's like a way that they can start to be open to understanding that.
Yeah, that's deep.
That's beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
And I actually just started another rhyme because in my head, I need to put another candle on my altar. And it was just like, when there's no flame on my altar, I falter. You know what I mean? And it's true. Like, I just feel like there's not that presence when I come into my home that I know down the hallway, that light flickering is like, it's not only my intention, but it's like presence of spirits there honoring my intention with me. And you know, and that's where I'll go out and have my morning ritual and say my prayers and do my yoga and hit my singing bowl and you know, and it's just like so that's very important. But the movement, the constantly, because sometimes like we got a lot of this energy, it's locked up in us.
Yeah, stagnant.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, so move.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta move. That's so...
Belly dancing is an ancient form. It's the only dance form that's created by women for women. And a lot of people think that it's just like entertainment, but it actually mimics the natural way that a woman moves. And so belly dance is dope because it prepares your body for childbirth. It also prepares your body for after you give birth to a baby, so it realigns everything. And we as women store a lot of our emotions in our hips. And so I work with women, and I work with like older sisters as well, who have gone through what they've gone through. And so a lot of like the trauma, the emotions, a lot of like their ancestral history too is coming out through their dance. And so they're releasing these toxins because you're bringing out the toxins in the reproductive system as you're dancing too. So you're just like releasing, you know, like physically releasing, then emotionally releasing. And then you're also connecting to like the ancient steps, like even the steps that you make in the earth is creating a pattern on the earth.